Okay, so there's a couple things going on today that I want to talk about. First and foremost, I learned about this PHP compromise that happened with WordPress. And what happened was it was a PHP injection. There was a vulnerability on WordPress, and they were able to inject PHP files into a lot of different areas on people's WordPress sites. And these scripts would run in the background. They were connecting to the EXIM. Mail transfer agent. So what happens is they're running scripts, creating aliases, and sending out broadcast emails to the EXIM mail transfer agent on your behalf. So what happened was it looked like your server, your domain, was sending out different emails and all these different aliases. So it could be, phishing attacks, viruses, spyware, like, you name it, all this being sent out. And then what happened was you might not be aware of it that's going on. So first and foremost, make sure your website's up to date. It's patched, it's up to date, your WordPress is the newest version. Second, call your hosting company. Ask them to check the EXIM file, all right, or EXIM mail transfer agent, and ask if it's broadcasting emails, through that agent, and is it doing it at an alarming rate? Is there like a lot of emails going out? Is there things in the spam filter, things like that? Just make sure it's not, different. Basically, how to say it, it's not out of the norm. Right, out of what you consider is like a baseline, right? Anomalous, that's what I'm thinking, anomalous traffic, anomalous emails being sent out. Because you want to make sure if there's a few being sent out for communication and so forth, because maybe you have like some forums or on your website and you're sending out, the regular. But if it's sending out 5,000 emails per day, yeah, you got to check into that, make sure, because you might have been hit with this compromise. So check that out. If you have any questions, comment below about that. My team does help with securing, hardening, and protecting people's websites and working on, all of these issues. Second, what I want to talk about is Equifax. Okay, let's be honest here. I think the news and Equifax are not really diving deep into what the compromise is, how we as users are compromised, and what to do. What to do if you are compromised or you think you might be. And let me kind of give this broad scope, and this is why I say they're not talking about it. Us as users, if you rented an apartment, you bought a car, you purchased a cell phone, what else? If you went to the bank and tried to get a loan, line of credit, credit card, anything along this line, I'm just trying to think of all the different areas. Or you're looking for employment, you go through an interview and they want to do a financial background check. Majority of these companies do these checks through Equifax. So they submit your first name, your last name, potentially your email address, your address, your social security number or social insurance number, depending if you're in the United States or Canada, your work history. They submit all this information to Equifax, and they run a report on you. And they submit the report back to the company, right? And then whoever that company may be. So all that information is collected by Equifax. And these files are what got compromised. So all that information now potentially can be out there, either in the dark web, wherever these hackers took that information. So now what does that mean? That could be either sold. So they could take, say, for example, they stole my identity. They could sell that information to someone else who wants to use it, and how they would use it is they would, maybe get a credit card, take out a loan, buy a car in my name, like anything, because they have all this information, all right, to be able to create, to request for credit, request for these, these services in the sense of line of credit, mortgage, you name it, they can do that. All right, now depending on how my credit is, they might get dinged or not, but they can try, and do things like that. My identity, they can actually steal my identity. So I have all this information. They can go get, a driver's license, a birth certificate, you name it, and create an identity for them with my ID, with my name and my name and information. I won't say my address because whatever they're creating, they're going to create with their address, but with my name and information. So what you need to do, and here's the call to action. call Equifax and say you first and foremost you want a credit alert. If they tell you you have to pay for it, tell them no, you're one of the people that got compromised and you want a credit alert set up indefinitely. All right, because you're the one person who got compromised and you want to make sure that you're safe. What that credit alert does is when someone calls and asks to establish credit, these companies are supposed to call and do a background check. Well, when they do a background check on you, they'll call and say, hey, look, we're looking at doing a credit for a line of credit or whatever that means for Brandon. And what happens, they'll call me through the alert. They'll alert me and say, hey, are you looking for X? Are you trying to create a line of credit? And I'll be like, no, I'm not. All right, deny that. First and foremost, find out who it is and then deny it. All right, you find out who it is and then you can report it, to the authorities. Second, for identity theft, what you need to do is go to your local police. And I hate to do this to bog up the police because, they're dealing with a lot of things. But talk to your local police and say, look, you know what? I was part of the Equifax compromise. I want to know, what do I need to do if my identity is stolen? They'll give you a list of what they need to do. Now, depending if it's local, like if someone steals in your local area, there might be, you deal with the local police. But if you have to deal with another police agency, and that's because it might be, an international crime, federal crime, someone might in Russia or whatever stealing your identity, then they'll have to deal with it that way. But at least they'll give you a checklist of what to do. And you want to make sure you have that on file or record, because if you ever do get your ID compromised, you can take action. Because the biggest thing, the challenge here is right now is that if you're not proactive in doing these actions, what happens is when it does happen, and if it does happen, you're going to go so frustrated because you're not going to know what to do. You're going to be so frustrated, and now you have to run around and do all these things. You have to try to figure out who do you call and who do you follow up with, and sit on the phone for 20 minutes to an hour with different service providers and try to get everything cleaned up. Why not do that now? And let me add something on to that too. Because these people might have your identity, make sure that any service provider that you have, be your telecommunications, so your phone, your internet, your insurance company, like anything, make sure you set up that you call them and say, look, I want a two-factor authentication. So first and foremost, I want you to have a passcode or passphrase that only you know, no one else knows, that when you call in, they confirm your information, but they also have to confirm the passcode before they give out any information. I heard this on it was Wired magazine. It was a hacking show on Netflix, and the guy was talking about, or Wire News, sorry. And the guy was talking about, the reporter was talking about how someone compromised Amazon, and what they did was they called in and they used his information and got in because they could just take his information, what they did through social engineering and phishing, and they were able to get mostly social engineering, but they were able to create a profile, understand what's his name, what's his address, what did he do, and they were able to collect all this information, then call into these companies, and then now say, hey, I'm John Doe, here's my address, here's my my phone number, here's all the information, do you need anything else? Okay, boom, let me get in. And they were able to get everything. So with that being said, these are the actions it takes to make sure that you protect yourself. So that's it for today. I don't want to make this video too long. I know this can get a long rant, but I wanted to make sure I give you guys some value and just be proactive, because I know it's coming. Now when people are going to say, oh my God, I got compromised because of the Equifax, that is coming, and I want to make sure that you're ready for it and you're protected. And if you're not you, someone you know. So that's it for today's video. Don't forget, software is hackable, being connected is vulnerable. I'll see you next video.